Consumers drive the economy through their purchases of goods and services. Consumer satisfaction requires quality service and professionalism. Who is dedicated to serve and meet these consumer demands? Today, in the spirit of consumer advocacy, select leading professionals from your community are called upon for their expert advice.
Yesterday's business was conducted with a simple handshake. Today's business has become much more complicated with high-tech goods and services purchased with credit cards over the internet and by telephone. Combine that with confusing sales tactics and complex contracts, and your headaches are just beginning. According to the Federal Trade Commission, in the last year, consumers reported fraud losses of over $1.1 billion. How can you protect yourself against unfair business practices? And how can you detect fraud before you lose your hard-earned money? We'll speak with qualified experts from your area to find out how to get the best goods and services for your dollar. Find out what steps you can take to avoid common mistakes and what questions you should be asking to protect yourself from poor workmanship. Learning how to get what you want when you want from Better Businesses will keep a smile on your face and money in your wallet. All this and more on the Better Business News Journal next. If you're facing insurmountable debt, you may be considering filing for bankruptcy protection. It's a last-step measure that can get you out of debt and give you a fresh start without the need to pay back past credit card expenses. Hello, I'm Patricia Stark, and this is the Better Business News Journal. Americans today own an average of 4 credit cards, with many people carrying in excess of $20,000 credit card debt. As recently as last year, over 1 million bankruptcy filings were made in the U.S., but bankruptcy isn't the only option. Debt consolidation and credit counseling are important tools to consider before deciding on bankruptcy. Because creditors know that a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush, even a hint of bankruptcy may consent a creditor to significantly reduce your debt. Coming up, we'll speak with a local BB&J Select bankruptcy attorney expert about when bankruptcy is right, what the effects may be to your credit rating, and what other options you may have. But first, let's learn more on this BB&J Business Brief.
The severe economic downturn in the United States has caused rising unemployment, unprecedented home foreclosures, and staggering consumer credit card debt. The result? A dramatic rise in personal bankruptcy. Today, many Americans urgently need to know what kind of bankruptcy they may be eligible for, and more importantly, what the consequences are for filing. There are several different kinds of bankruptcy. Chapter 13 is for individual debt adjustment and offers regular wage earners a chance to stop foreclosure proceedings. Chapter 11 allows businesses temporary relief from creditors without a court-approved repayment plan. And in Chapter 7, the debtor gives up control of its assets, and a trustee of the court proceeds to liquidate all non-exempt assets, distributing the funds to the various creditors. This form of bankruptcy could be the least desirable for individuals because personal assets might be liquidated. Candidates for bankruptcy should seek professional advice to determine which chapter applies to their particular case. Although bankruptcy may appear to be the best solution for individuals with unmanageable debt, the debtor should know the following pitfalls. Bankruptcy laws were changed in 2005 to make filing much more complex in an effort to reduce abuse. Once you have filed, you are ineligible for relief for 8 years. And bankruptcy filing could seriously impair your credit rating for as much as 10 years. Individuals should consult with a BB&J Select expert before considering bankruptcy. This has been your BB&J Business Brief.
And if you have any questions, please visit bbnj.org. Now let's hear from a BB&J Select expert in your area.
Bankruptcy is reaching a financial state where you have more debts than you are able to pay. What most people confuse bankruptcy with is going into federal court and filing for protection from your creditors under the Bankruptcy Act. You are bankrupt. You file for bankruptcy protection. And most people, by the time they actually get around to filing for protection, they've already spent their 401k, they've spent their retirement savings, money that they could have had for their future. And they're in my office saying, gee, I don't know what to do. If they had come to see me sooner, they'd be getting the fresh start that they're getting, but they'd be doing it with their future intact. There's a lot of scams that are out there, and they're advertised so heavily on TV and in the newspapers that people begin to think that they're really legitimate. The one example that comes to mind right away are people who are advertising to be able to give you help by negotiating with your creditors. In Wisconsin, we have people who are licensed to be debt adjusters. These are not people who are going to say, give us money in advance. Anybody that tells you, give me money in advance while I tell you not to pay your creditors and I'll put you in a position to be able to negotiate a better deal for you, they're stealing your money. They're not licensed. They're operating illegally in this state, and the truth is, our government is so overburdened that the police, the Attorney General's office out of Madison, nobody has time to go after these criminals. They're taking your money. They're taking advantage of people who are desperate for help. I've had a lot of people ask me about these Chapter 128 filings because they sound too good to be true. And in fact, I had a couple that drove in from La Crosse to meet me at my office because they had received something I had sent to them in the mail about a lawsuit that they were facing. They wanted to find out more about a Chapter 128, but after getting my mailing, they thought I was running some kind of a scam. So they drove from La Crosse to meet me at my office just because they wanted to see that, yeah, I really was an attorney with an office in Milwaukee as opposed to somebody operating off the back of a matchbook. Also, be careful of people who are advertising using 1-800 numbers. You don't know where these numbers are going. You don't know if these are people that are answering in the state of Wisconsin, the county of Milwaukee. You don't know if they're from Chicago. There's a chance they could be a Bears fan, for God's sake. My goodness. And that doesn't even include the people who are operating from overseas using 800 numbers, 888 numbers, 877 numbers. If you need help, you need to talk to somebody who can actually be here to help you. That's why I have a number that's got a 414 area code. I have an office in town. I'll meet with people after hours. I'll meet with people on the weekends. I'll do whatever it takes so that you, as a potential client of mine, are assured that you're getting a legitimate service. Check out my business with the Better Business Bureau. I'm a member. That's important. But be careful of people who promise things that sound too good to be true. Investigate, ask questions. Anybody who's hesitant about answering questions about how it is they're making money, how it is that they're going to earn a living when you come to them for help, those are people to be wary of. Anything that sounds too good to be true probably is. The protection under the bankruptcy laws is really important if you're behind in your mortgage. It's important in helping you keep your family home. It's an important way to be able to protect your retirement, your 401k, your pension. You can keep up to $1 million worth of retirement savings under the Federal Bankruptcy Act. If you come to see me now, before it gets to that kind of a crisis point, we can give you a fresh start with a future that you can look forward to.
Up next, approximately 85% of people will suffer from this before they reach 50. You may be one of them. It's back pain. If you've ever cut an activity short because of your aching back, you may have looked into one, two, or perhaps many treatment options. When we return, we'll examine the causes of back pain, some of which may surprise you. We'll also hear from an expert in your area about how you can get back into your active lifestyle and say goodbye to pain. The Better Business News Journal is coming right back. Stay with us.
For more information on today's Better Business News Journal, please visit bbnj.org or contact the BBNJ Select expert in your area.
I'm Patricia Stark, and this is the Better Business News Journal. Chiropractic care focuses on the treatment of the musculoskeletal system, as well as back and neck aches, headache, and pain in the arm and leg joints. The chiropractic philosophy is based on the thought that misalignment of the spinal joints can have a negative impact on the body's overall health and nervous system. When your back is misaligned, it continuously attempts to regain proper placement, and you may feel like you need to stretch or crack your bones. The chiropractor can send understands how the bones and muscles need to move to assist in this process and applies the pressure accordingly. This is called spinal manipulation or chiropractic adjustment. Some chiropractors combine holistic methods within their practice, such as acupuncture, massage, or heat therapy. Choosing the right chiropractor is an important decision because each has their unique style and techniques. We'll talk more about this with a BB&J Select expert in your area. But first, let's take a closer look at the technology being used on this BB&J Business Brief.
You hear people who suffer with back pain often claim to have a slipped or ruptured disc. The pain they are actually describing is associated with a herniated disc. The discs are soft, rubbery pads that separate the hard bones of the spinal column. Discs allow the back to move and bend and serve as shock absorbers for the delicate structures of the spine. Discs are made from a thick outer ring comprised of cartilage and an inner gel-like substance called the nucleus. A disc ruptures or herniates when part of the center nucleus pushes through the outer edge of the disc toward the spinal canal where the spinal cord and other nerve roots are located. The results can include pain, numbness, or weakness in the legs. A herniated disc is easily diagnosed by the right doctor. You will be asked for a complete medical history including any past or recent injuries. A physical examination will determine the nerve roots that have been affected, and an X-ray may actually show the evidence of a herniated disc. Oftentimes, other tests such as an MRI, computed tomography, or electromyography are used to confirm the extent of the injury. Non-surgical treatment is effective for more than 90% of patients who seek treatment. When these options fail to relieve the pain, however, surgery may be called for. Back pain is one of the most common maladies in America, but with a high success rate of treatments, it isn't something you have to live with. This has been your BB&J Business Brief.
And if you have any questions on this BB&J Business Brief, please visit bbnj.org. Now let's hear from a BB&J Select chiropractic expert in your area.
Our mission at Chiropractic Company is to improve patients' lives through chiropractic care. That's what motivates us. That's what drives us. Hello, my name is Dr. Brian Gerondale. I'm founder and CEO of Chiropractic Company. We've been established in the Milwaukee area for over 25 years, and we have 5 locations. At Chiropractic Company, we offer chiropractic services, physical therapy modalities, massage, and creating wellness programs. I'd like you to meet our doctors.
Symptoms are not normal.
Symptoms are a warning sign.
Symptoms alert your body that something's wrong.
How well are you listening?
Do you ignore your symptoms?
Do you continually take drugs just to get through the day?
By covering up symptoms with medications, you may mask the underlying cause.
What are you waiting for?
I had a sciatic nerve in my back, lower back, which was very, very painful, excruciating pain. I had went to an orthopedic doctor, had the shot in the back, pain pills, and none of that took the pain away. When I came to the office, was unable to walk very well because my husband had to bring me in, and I had a cane. When I left the office, I was just walking with a cane and very little pain. I would say if anybody is having any problems, it would be a good place to go. And I think once they go and go through the treatments, I think they would be satisfied. I am.
I was starting to have all sorts of symptoms of muscles locking up and limited range of motion, especially through my neck and upper back areas. I would say I started seeing results within the first 3 weeks. I noticed immediate pain relief on a day-to-day basis. Just my quality of life was greatly increased. To this day, I highly recommend the Chiropractic Company and chiropractic in general. A lot of people don't realize all the different avenues or things that it can do for you.
Lauren is 3 months. When we had Lauren, she was very colicky, and we were not getting any sleep. She was pretty crabby from, maybe like 6 o'clock at night, all through the night. She took so long to eat. It would take like an hour to feed her. And by the time we were done feeding her, we had to get back up again with her because she was so fussy.
When we went
to the doctor that was recommended for us. She was very outgoing and friendly, knew exactly what to do in our situation. Through several weeks of care, she was able to get everything straightened out, which was great.
We were able to see an improvement, though, right away.
Through the chiropractic care, that was able to be straightened out, and she sleeps better, she eats better, she's just a happier baby.
Your first visit will last 30 to 60 minutes. The visit will consist of a complete health history, a personal consultation with your doctor. We're going to check your posture, range of motion, and do a detailed spinal exam to determine the cause of your problem.
They helped me fix my spine because my spine was a little curved, and now it's straight, so that's awesome.
You don't have to live in pain. Take the first step towards wellness with us. We're here to help you reclaim your life.
When we return, we've all heard that you shouldn't leave the scene of an accident without first exchanging insurance information and obtaining a police report. But is this really the best way to protect yourself in the event you need to assert or defend a personal injury claim? What rights do you have to the policeman's report and accident photos? And what does no-fault insurance mean? We'll learn about this and more. The Better Business News Journal will be right back.
For more information on today's Better Business News Journal, please visit bbnj.org or contact the BBNJ Select expert in your area.
Many accidents are unavoidable, but what if you're in an accident that was caused by someone else? Hello, I'm Patricia Stark, and this is the Better Business News Journal. Personal injuries are often covered by medical insurance, but insurance rarely covers for pain and suffering or lost work hours. If someone else caused your injury, they may owe you compensation. Seeking prompt medical care for your injuries is always the first step in an accident. Afterwards, you should contact police to make sure evidence is maintained. Pictures and statements from witnesses will help support you if you intend to assert a claim. Finding a local and trustworthy personal injury lawyer is key, and timing is everything. The truth is that failing to properly notice a claim can result in evidence being destroyed and making your claim harder to prove. Coming up, we'll speak with a BBNJ Select personal injury expert from your area with more information that you should have if you are the victim of an accident. But first, let's hear from someone who's recently had that experience. Their story right now in this BBNJ Consumer Corner.
My husband was injured at work. There was a malfunction of equipment, and he was crushed between two pieces of equipment, and it was quite serious. Because his accident happened at his workplace, workman's compensation insurance was involved, as well as his company's insurance. Because of the extent of his injuries, and it was complicated with workman's comp and his company, it was the best decision was to get an attorney to try and pursue his injury claims. The attorney was very sympathetic to what had happened to my husband and really looked out for his best interests in dealing with these big insurance companies. The attorney was optimistic that in the end the settlement would be somewhat sufficient to help him with his physical needs from that point. The strategy we had going into this with the attorney was to show the extensive injuries and how that would prevent him from being 100% physically capable to continue in his line of work. Looking back on everything that happened after the accident, I can't say that I would have done anything differently. We did everything by the book and obtained an attorney when it became clear that they were going to give us a hard time about his injuries.
And if you have any questions, please visit bbnj.org. Now let's hear from a BBNJ Select expert in your area.
Millions of drivers take to the roads daily and accidents are bound to happen. Make sure you take the proper steps to protect yourself if you've been in an accident.
Before you give a statement, I always recommend that people consult with a lawyer first. There are so many little tricky things they ask to try to gum you up. For example, how fast were you going? You know, and you say, well, the speed limit was 30. I was going maybe 32, 35. Well, right away, you have just proved yourself to be negligent, and you could lose the entire case. So, you know, don't guess on anything, but always consult with a lawyer before you give any statement to any insurance company. When a person's injured and has a lawyer, the insurance company is not allowed to have direct contact with the individual. If there is to be a statement given by the injured person, he has been advised by the lawyer what to say and what not to say. So that is extremely important. A lawyer could also direct you to, if you're having certain medical problems. A lot of lawyers in my business know an awful lot about doctors and which doctors are best at dealing with certain issues, medical issues. So we might recommend 2 or 3 different doctors to go to if you have a specific problem. There's so many issues that come up. A lot of times people are worried about getting medical bills paid. We can advise them on that. We can send out letters of protection, which means that medical provider, you will get paid once the case is settled, and most will go along with that. So your credit isn't ruined. A lot of times people feel their credit's ruined just because they're in an accident and the bills are mounting. You know, the classic example how lawyers can help is, I had a client just last week where she was in an accident and the insurance adjuster tried to get her to settle for $1,600. Went to her house and said, oh, you won't have any further problems. We just settled the case for $95,000. All I can say is do not talk to the opposing insurance adjuster. Do not give them a statement. Do not be tempted by the quick $500 or $1,000 when you're really injured. Those are the things I would caution people about. You should consider settling when, after you've discussed it with your lawyer and you learn the pros and cons, and they say, well, the offer is $25,000. You would, Mr. Client or Miss Client, you would get $12,000 out of this settlement, and then the lawyer would give his or her best advice and say, I think if you go to trial, you could get between 50 and 75. You know, I always lay out the options to people and say, look, if we go to trial, it's going to take about a year. We'll be in court, take about 3-4 days of your time. I lay out all the facts and let the client decide. In the Milwaukee metropolitan community, there might be 150 lawyers that really know what they're doing, but it doesn't stop a lot of lawyers from trying to handle cases, and they're just not quite as good as those of us that are experienced. I've settled about 10,000 cases, tried several hundred jury trials. I think you got to go with somebody that's got experience.
Stay tuned. The Better Business News Journal will be right back.
For more information on today's Better Business News Journal, please visit bbnj.org or contact the BBNJ Select Expert in your area.
Well, that wraps up this edition of the Better Business News Journal. Please visit bbnj.org for more. In the spirit of consumer advocacy, I'm Pat Murphy. Take care and stay informed.